You know that you love each other. It's clear, it's in the way you look at each other, in the way you care, in the way you try to pretend that nothing serious is happening. But deep down, you feel it. Something is wrong. There's a barrier between you, something that shouldn't be there. And it hurts because it's like this love, which could be so beautiful, is trapped, suffocated by something you can't even name properly. You can't deny what you feel. You just can't. But why are you so distant? Why does it always seem like there's something getting in the way? Do you notice this? When you are together, everything feels right, but at the same time it feels wrong. As if something or someone is there, between you, pushing you to the side, separating what should be one. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe you're waiting for the other person to take the initiative, to say or do something that will solve everything all at once. But what if that person is waiting for the exact same thing from you? What if what's separating you now is this silence, this hesitation that's growing and creating this distance that seems impossible to cross? It could be that there are old wounds, things that were left unresolved and still weigh down, even if no one talks about it. Or maybe it's something from outside, someone or some situation that threw insecurity into the midst of everything. But the truth is that none of that matters more than what you feel. And you know that. You feel that. So what will it be? Are you going to keep ignoring what's right in front of you? Are you going to let fear, pride, or whatever it is destroy what you could be? Or are you going to do something? Are you going to confront this? What is stopping you now? Comment. I know you feel that you need to do something. It's inside you, like a restlessness that won't go away. You think about it before going to sleep. You feel it when you see his face, or when you hear her name by chance. This connection you have is not something ordinary. It's not something you find every day. So why are you letting it slip through your fingers? Have you stopped to think about what is really holding you back? Is it pride? Pride of not wanting to be the one who gives in first? Pride of not wanting to seem vulnerable? Because if that's the case, I need to tell you something. That pride will get you nowhere. It is only creating more distance, more silence, more space for emptiness to grow between you two. Maybe it's fear. The fear that if you open up, you will be rejected. That you will show everything you feel, and in the end you will discover that it was just you who felt this way. This fear is cruel, I know. It makes you question yourself, hold back, avoid any move that might expose you. But have you thought that maybe the other side is feeling exactly the same? That he or she is also there, hesitating, waiting for a sign from you to know that they are not alone in this? Or maybe you are stuck in the past. Something that happened between you two, or even before you met, that left a mark. Something that makes you think that maybe things can't be different, that you don't deserve to live this, or that this person is not willing to change. But let me ask you something. How long are you going to let the past determine the future? How long will you let a mistake, a moment of weakness, define everything that could be? And I know that sometimes the barrier doesn't come from the two of you, but from outside. Words from other people, opinions, situations that seem out of control. Maybe someone said something that planted a doubt or reinforced an insecurity that was already there. But you need to remember that what you two have is yours and no one else's. It's not about what others think or about what they want you to do. It's about what's in your heart, and you know what's there. So what are you going to do with that? Are you going to keep waiting, as if time by itself will solve everything? Because I'll be honest with you, time doesn't always resolve things. Sometimes it just adds to the weight. It just makes the distance grow, to the point where you don't even recognize what you had at the beginning anymore. Or are you going to face it now? It doesn't have to be something grandiose. It doesn't have to be an epic declaration that changes everything at once. It can be a step, an honest conversation, a gesture that shows you are willing, that you are there, despite all the fears, the doubts, the mistakes. Because that's what makes the difference. That's what breaks the barriers. You know what this person means to you. You don't need to pretend you don't know. You don't need to keep waiting for everything to align perfectly, because that's never going to happen. Life is not perfect, people are not perfect, and love is definitely not perfect. But it is real, and that's what matters. Now, I need to ask, what are you waiting for? What's stopping you from taking the next step? Connect. Are you waiting for a sign? For something that makes everything easier? For a guarantee that you won't get hurt, that the other person will respond exactly as you imagine? Because if that's the case, let me tell you something you might not want to hear. The sign is you. The change starts with you. The guarantee you are waiting for will never appear, because it is impossible to control what the other person feels, thinks, or does. But you can control what you do now. You can decide not to let fear dictate your next step. And look, I know that opening your heart seems scary. It feels like putting everything on the line. It feels like giving someone the power to hurt you, and no one likes that feeling. But you are already suffering. You are suffering now with this doubt, with this distance, with this love trapped inside you, with no space to breathe. So, what difference does it make if you take the risk? Because yes, it could go wrong. But what if it goes right? Have you thought about what that could mean? Have you imagined yourself finally feeling at peace next to this person, without barriers, without fears, without the constant feeling that you are always one step behind what could be? Because that is possible, but only if you are willing to face what is holding you back. Only if you let go of this idea that the other person needs to do something first, that conditions need to be perfect, that you need to have all the answers before acting. You know, sometimes what most prevents love from blooming is our own mind. It's the what-ifs we invent. The stories we tell ourselves about why this won't work, about why it's not worth trying. It's our way of protecting ourselves, of avoiding risk. But in reality, it's what paralyzes us. It's what keeps us from living what truly matters. You feel it, don't you? That weight, that pressure on your chest, that desire to change everything but not knowing where to start? Start with the simplest, be honest. With yourself first. Admit what you feel without judging yourself, without trying to justify or minimize it. And then, if you have the courage, be honest with that person. Say what you feel, without beating around the bush, without expecting anything in return. It's not about controlling their reaction, it's about you releasing that weight, that love that's trapped inside you. And if you think the other person doesn't feel the same, that it's all in your head, I need to remind you of something. True connections are rare. They don't happen by chance. If you feel this so strongly, it's because something is there. Maybe it's not exactly what you expect. Maybe it's not in the time frame you would like, but something exists, and ignoring it won't make it go away. Now you might be thinking, what if I open up and nothing changes? What if the other person does nothing about it? That can happen, it's true. But here's the question. What hurts more? Carrying that feeling without ever giving it a real chance, or taking the risk and at least knowing that you tried? At least knowing that you did everything you could? Because living in doubt is what wears you down the most. It's what corrodes the heart the most. And sometimes you need to be the one who takes the initiative. Not because the other person doesn't care, but because maybe he or she is just as trapped in their own fears and insecurities as you are. Maybe that person is also waiting for a sign, for an opening, for a chance to show that they feel the same. But that will only happen if someone takes the first step. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to make excuses not to act? How there is always a reason to wait a little longer, to leave it for later. But later never comes. Time passes, opportunities slip away, and what remains are regrets. Regrets for not having tried, for not having spoken, for not having fought for something that you knew, deep down, was worth it. And I know you feel it's worth it. You wouldn't be listening to this until now if you didn't know that. You wouldn't be thinking about this person, this love, if you didn't feel that there is something special there, something that cannot be ignored. So, what's missing? What is really missing for you to act? Maybe it's courage. Courage to face whatever comes, whether it's a yes that changes everything or a no that brings the truth to light. Because one way or another, courage frees you. It takes you out of this prison of doubts, this cycle of thoughts that never leads you anywhere. Courage gives you clarity, even if the result is not what you expect. Or maybe it's faith. Faith that, even if things don't turn out the way you imagine, there is a greater purpose in all of this. Faith that love, when it is true, always finds a way, even if it is not immediate, even if it is not the way you expected. But that only happens if you take the first step, if you are willing to act. Now look, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm here to remind you of what you already know deep in your heart. I'm here to remind you that you have a choice, that you have power. The power to change what is happening now, to break the barrier that is between you, to give love a real chance. The question is, are you going to do it? Or are you going to keep letting fear, pride, or circumstances decide for you? How much longer are you going to wait before taking action? What else needs to happen for you to realize that sometimes the only real obstacle between you and what you want is yourself? So, I ask you, with all sincerity, what are you going to do now? I know that this question is hammering in your head now. What am I going to do? And maybe the answer seems scary because it requires something you can't control. Courage. Not the grandiose courage that people imagine, but that quiet courage that arises when you decide to act, even though you're afraid, even though you have doubts, even without any guarantees. And let me tell you something important. Not acting is also a choice. Doing nothing is, in a way, deciding that fear and doubt will continue to control you. It's accepting that time will pass, and with it the chances you have to resolve this. Because yes, the chances are not infinite. Love can withstand many things, but even it needs care, attention, effort. It doesn't survive alone, in abandonment, in inertia. I know you feel that this love deserves more, that this person deserves more. You know this because you're still here thinking, feeling, fighting against yourself. You know this because you recognize that this connection is special, that it's not just anything. That's why it hurts so much. Because deep down, you know it could be more, but it isn't yet. But let me ask you again, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the other person to read your mind, to guess what's inside, to take the initiative so you can feel safer? This is human, I know. Everyone wants to be understood without having to speak. But the truth is that the other person is also human, also has doubts, fears, insecurities. They are also dealing with things you may not even imagine. And you know what else? You will never truly know what the other person feels until you give them space to show you, until you open that door and allow him or her to come in. Yes, this requires risk, but love always does. Love has never been a safe place. It is a real place, full of imperfections, challenges, and difficult moments. But it is also where life truly happens. You have so much to offer. This love you feel is so real, so intense, so genuine. Do you really think it exists by chance? Do you think feeling something like this is common? It's not. It's rare. And that's why you can't just let it pass. You can't let fear, pride, or silence destroy something that could be amazing. Something that could change your life. And if you are still stuck in doubt, if you are still trying to find an excuse not to act, I need to remind you of one thing. Doubt does not disappear on its own. It grows, feeds on uncertainty, on the lack of action. And the longer you wait, the more it takes over. The more it convinces you that it's too late, that you should give up, that maybe it's better to pretend that none of this matters. But you know it matters. You feel it deep in your chest, so yes, I am challenging you. I am challenging you to stop running, to stop waiting, to stop creating scenarios in your head that only leave you more confused. I am challenging you to be honest with yourself and with this person. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be easy, but it has to be real. Because in the end, what matters is not what you thought of doing, what you planned, what you imagined could be. What matters is what you actually did, what you had the courage to face, even without knowing what the result would be. And now, once again, I ask you, what are you going to do? Time doesn't wait. So I ask you, why not now? Why not make that decision even with fear and do something real? Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect answer, or the perfect courage. You already have everything you need to act because the love you feel is the greatest force that exists. Set aside your pride. Set aside your fear. Choose what is true, what is inside you begging to be lived. Now it's your turn. Tell me, what is holding you back? What do you feel you need to do to take the next step? I want to know your story. I want to know what this awakened in you. Write it in the comments because your experience can help others who are going through something similar. And if this message touched you, if it made you think or gave you the strength to act, leave a like. This helps more people connect with this message. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more content like this. We are together on this journey of understanding, feeling, and acting with the heart. Love deserves it. And you do too.